Hello, I'm Nadine Blaney. Welcome to Media Week. Ahead on the program, Control Z for Fairfax as its two suitors walk away. We'll talk where to from here for the newspaper business and, of course, Domain. And two big launches on Foxtel and 10 this week. And speaking of, we'll get you up to speed on the latest news surrounding the beleaguered 10 network. A big welcome back to our co-host, James Manning. He's editor and publisher of Media Week. He'll talk us through all those stories and more. James, welcome back to the program. Good to be here with you again.
Thanks, Nadine. It's great to be back after a few weeks away. I hope I think we had some good co-hosts lined up for those few weeks.
We certainly did, but always nice to have you in studio with us. So let's get right to it, shall we, James? Because this week, Publicis Communications, that global giant, revealed that it would be launching its MSL brand here in Australia via the acquisition of the Heard agency and its team of 55 specialists across public relations, social media, content and creative. Well, the Publicis Communications Group in Australia includes the creative agencies Leo Burnett and Saatchi & Saatchi. To explain the move, joining us from our Sydney CBD studio is the CEO of Publicis Communications, ANZ, Michael Rebelo. Michael, welcome to the program. Great to have you here with us. Let's talk about this acquisition of the Heard Group, or the Heard Agency, I should say, in particular. It's going to be renamed. Give us the big reveal.
Oh, hi, Nadine and James. Thank you for having me. Yes, it's been a big announcement for our organisation this week with the acquisition of the Heard Agency. They will now become known as Heard MSL. MSL are our global public relations brand that operate around the world. And so for the first time in Australia, we'll be operating with that brand under the leadership of the Heard management team.
Curious to know, Michael, I mean, why had Publicis not brought the MSL brand to Australia prior to now?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I think in the market, everything's about timing. And for us, we've seen an increased level of conversations with our clients around being more holistically joined up around advising them across the entire communications gambit. And really, that conversation's really been heightened to the extent that we really needed to have a wholly owned public relations company. Historically, we would partner with other PR companies in the market or through an alliance, but we really felt the need now to come together and look for a really world-class PR company to fill that gap for us, and that's been the Heard Agency.
Michael, how many of the sort of leadership team are staying on? The people that I guess that have made the Heard Agency one of the world's best, as you say. Is it Jamie Verso? Is he staying with you?
Yes, 100% of the management team and the staff, James, will remain and lead Heard. That's really important to us. I mean, the reason we looked at acquiring Heard in the first place was, I guess, the fit that we had with the leadership team, the chemistry, the values, the ambitions that we shared. They run a really strong business, and we want them to continue to do that and do that with our support and our help. So they will all continue in their current roles, which is exciting for us.
Yeah, I gather you're not revealing the price, but can you tell us anything about the deal? Have they got any skin in the game or a sort of performance incentives to sort of keep them nose to the grindstone?
Look, unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to really disclose any of the details. It is a major acquisition for Publicis Communications. It's a really key and strategic move for us. We're an ambitious company. We've got ambitious growth plans. The guys have had a great track record in growing Heard to where it is today, and I'm sure they'll continue to do that in the future. Yeah,
I'm curious, Michael, how much growth is left in PR? We've heard, that it's one of the fastest growing sectors, I guess, when it comes to jobs and jobs growth. And just by working in the media, I mean, the amount of PR companies we deal with on a daily basis is huge. I mean, where will the growth sort of continue to come from in that area?
Look, yes, you're right. It's highly competitive, Nadine. It's competitive for all agencies operating in the marketing landscape today. We see the growth coming through, I guess, the combination of both our creative agencies and Heard joining our team. We'll look to achieve growth through our current clients, future clients, working together to amplify our respective new business strategies. So we see the growth coming, I guess, across a wide number of areas. I guess if you look at the functional area of PR, social marketing influencers, and that area of PR is a growing space, and Herd have a really strong capability in that, which is one of the reasons we were very attracted to them. So yeah, look, I think corporate affairs, consumer PR, they're all in a growing state. There is always a brand that needs help in some way, shape or form from a PR space.
Michael, have you had to save a bit of cash to sort of maybe scale up a little bit and to grow the business to sort of take on all the extra work you hope to get?
Look, we're well equipped to accommodate the growth that we foresee. We will invest ahead of the revenue curve as we see an opportunity arise. But I think we've got a pretty good scale of operation at the moment, James. We've got 900 employees across Australia, New Zealand. Herd brings another 55 individuals. There's a lot of talent, a lot of capacity, a lot of ambition there to help us kind of scale to that growth that we hope to achieve.
A lot of integration to happen as well, no doubt, in the coming months. Do you think that this is it as far as expansion goes for Publicis in this area in Australia, or could there be further potential acquisitions down the road?
Look, Nadine, you're absolutely right. The hard work really starts now. The integration of the company into Publicis Communications is something that we've started already. A lot of planning has gone into how we will come together and how we'll operate, how we'll succeed as a collective team. So that's going to be the focus for us for the next at least 3 to 6 months, to ensure that we maximise, I guess, the great talent that we're bringing into Publicis Communications. Look, and from there we'll ascertain, where other growth might come from. It's a very, fast-changing market, ours, at the moment.
Michael, just have a quick look at the big picture. You've got a lot of brands working in the advertising space in Australia. What sort of feel have you got for the market, and if we asked you about the outlook, what would you tell us?
Look, James, there's a lot of brands in the marketing industry, whether it be creative agencies, media company, PR agencies. There is a proliferation. Our philosophy is to try and be the best that we can be, and that will always be a market for that. It's highly competitive. It is an industry where you can set up shop with 2 people and a laptop, working out of a co-working space these days. So there are very low barriers to entry. But we feel, though, that it's still very much a talent business. Being able to attract the best talent, acquire the best talent, is really one of our key kind of competitive advantages and growth strategies. The market's changing radically. It's being disrupted, as is most businesses today. And that's what we see opportunity within that. We see possibility within that, which is why we're continuing to invest in the Australian market with acquisitions such as Herd. Last year we acquired Rebelo, which is a customer experience agency, because we saw, I guess, a lot of potential in that space as well.
Michael, just before we let you go, I mean, this is bigger picture. You've got a lot of brands operating in the advertising space right now in Australia and the region. What is your sense of the advertising market at this time? What does it tell you about the state of the broader economy?
Look, we always a very good barometer for the economy, and we're always the first to feel either the ebbs and flows up or down. At the moment, we're seeing a lot of optimism, cautious optimism with our clients. Everyone wants to grow faster, grow more. We're still on that upward trajectory, but it's cautious. I don't think there's anyone there saying that they're seeing unprecedented growth without a lot of hard work. So it's tough, but there's still a lot of I guess opportunity and possibility in the advertising market in Australia.
Well, Michael, it's been a pleasure having you in. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
No, thanks a lot, Nadine and James. Nice to be here.
Michael Rebelo there. He is the CEO of Publicis Communications in Australia and New Zealand. We'll take a short break, shall we, James? Coming up on Media Week, we've got bidders walking out on the Fairfax media deal. Meanwhile, Domain is pressing ahead with plans to list on the ASX. We'll bring you some analysis of that with my co-host after the break.
Experience Thailand with luxury escapes Get this exclusive offer at the Sands Khao Lak by Katathani, a tropical beachfront paradise. Your 8-night stay includes daily breakfast, luxury club access, nightly cocktails and canapes, spa treatments, exclusive dining experiences, and much more. This luxury escape is just $999 for 2 adults, valued at over $3,900. Plus, one child stays free. See all the details and experience the world's best holidays at luxuryescapes.com.
At SEW, we appreciate your plant should always be operating at full capacity. In moments of crisis, we also understand the importance of having you back up and running as soon as possible. Our 24/7 emergency breakdown service ensures you have the best possible chance of minimising downtime. It's in our DNA to ensure your plant has the best combination of quality, service and availability, coupled with rigid backup. So trust SEW Eurodrive.
Nobody can tell you there's only one song worth singing. They may try and sell you, 'cause it hangs them up to see someone like you. But you gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song.
How many hotels does Trivago compare?
1,000? 100,000? 500,000? 700,000?
Trivago now compares prices from more than 1 million hotels to find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
Live from Sydney's Capitol Theatre, the 2017 Helpman Awards, with sensational performances from Book of Mormon, My Fair Lady, Beautiful, Aladdin, Velvet and Kinky Boots.
Audiences are so lucky.
Celebrate the best of Australian live performance, the 2017 Helpman Awards, Monday, July 24, exclusively live on Foxtel Arts.
Foxtel has something new in store for you.
Come into the light. A beautiful girl. She is the one who'll break the spell.
Certain as the sun,
think of the one place you've always wanted to see.
rising in the east.
Find it. Feel it in your heart.
Song as old as
There must be some way to break the curse. Beauty and the Beast. Rent now in our store.
Australia is spending $50 billion on diesel-powered submarines. But is diesel a dodgy deal? We hear the pitch from one of Australia's leading defence experts. Buy nuclear. Hear the arguments and cast your vote on Sky News Live.
Welcome back to the program. This is Media Week. My co-host James Manning, editor and publisher of Media Week, is joining us. James, well, you've been away for a few weeks, but boy, there has been no shortage of news in the media space. Let's just get up to speed on Fairfax Media. I mean, we saw the suitors really disappearing. What was under the covers? I mean, what did TPG and Hellman and Friedman find that they really clearly didn't like?
Well, they disappeared quicker than they arrived almost, didn't they? They sort of turned up overnight and then, wow, blink of an eye and they were gone. I just sort of wonder if we got too caught up in all this. I mean, the media loves reporting on the media and maybe we thought it was a much bigger story than it was. You know, they did express interest, you know, and they went in, they did some due diligence on the books. As you say, did they find stuff in there they didn't like? I just wonder how close they really were to making a bid, if it was just, you know, really exploratory in the first stage. Certainly Hellman and Friedman, you never really got the feeling they were fair dinkum. And now in hindsight you could wonder, well, you know, were they ever really going to be a bidder? Did they just find, look, there was going to be a due diligence available, they might as well put their hand up to and go in and have a bit of a look? It was probably, you think about the Domain, was, you know, the fact that Domain was really driving this whole company. That Fairfax sort of released some results earlier this week to sort of say, look, no, there's nothing really nasty in the books, but when you look at it, it's really all about Domain, isn't it? The growth they're experiencing, which is great, but all the other assets are trending lower, or most of them anyway, except maybe the radio and Stan, but all the publishing business is dropping lower. Domain's really holding the company up at the moment until they can sort of monetise that audience that the publishing division has, but at the moment it's not bringing the return that it should be.
Well, could it be that those suitors looked under the covers and saw that keeping the newspapers going as a going concern was really not worth the trouble and the money that it could potentially take? I mean, if the newspaper and the print assets of Fairfax keep going as is it inevitable that management will just continue to have to keep cutting? And this is, leaving Domain out of the mix, although it must be noted that their print sales are also in decline.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that yet. I guess the most optimistic you could be about that publishing side of it is that those sort of newspaper revenues might plateau somewhere, but not a lot of people would think that's going to happen. They think they might just keep disappearing until you really get to a stage where you've got to close all those print properties. Greg Highwood says that they don't have that, they don't have the vision of where that might be, and if that does happen, that those digital audiences, you'll be able to sort of monetize them to enough to sort of, make up for some of those missing revenues. But it's a fair way down the track, I think.
Yeah, well, you and I have been talking about the shutting of the weekday papers for a long time. Still haven't had any news on that front. Do you think that that's imminent? Or?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think they really need it. Even Domain sort of needs it too. It helps Domain. all those real estate listings. A lot of those are high-end properties, both in the Sydney and Melbourne markets. And those that Saturday Domain section, it just shows off those properties really well. It's hard to put a sort of financial worth on that, but it's just a part of the asset that makes the whole thing really tick along. We're going to get some financial results in August, and Greg Highwood said they'll have a bit more detail about the Domain float later this year.
And he's also been weighing in on the role of Fairfax if media laws have passed. Flesh that out for us a little bit.
Yeah, he just thinks, look, there's going to be quite a bit of consolidation. He was almost teasing a little bit. He said, look, I can't say too much about that, but he said, look, there will be market consolidation if those media laws has passed, and that's still a very iffy proposition. I don't think there's any more reason to be optimistic that's going to be happening anytime soon. But he says, look, we will be a player. So potentially he thinks there's people there that they can either partner with or sell specific assets to if that day comes.
And the plot thickens. Also, the plot continues to thicken around Network 10. Plenty happened while you were on your holidays, working holidays, it must be said. But the latest, of course, is that the ACCC is considering a potential bid being made by Lachlan Murdoch and Bruce Gordon for 10 Network. And this is even before media reform laws are passed.
Sure.
So just give us your insight, James. Why do you think that Murdoch and Gordon really want to get their hands on 10?
Yeah, look, it's another good question. You look at the bottom line for what 10's been doing, you think, really, should these people just walk away, But no, look, they've both invested a fair bit. They would love to get some of that money back. Lachlan Murdoch's been working there as the chairman in the past. He'd be able to he would love to come up with a plan, a strategy that will help get this network back on firm footing, if you like. Bruce Gordon, look, he needs it for their content. Win Network right around Australia. They're 10's affiliate partner now. Gee, if anything happened to 10, suddenly Win going to have to go and source all their own content, and they just don't want that to happen. So he's really got a vested interest in that and making sure it works. Look, and they think they can even make it work if those media laws aren't passed.
Yeah. So what's the sort of workaround that they're considering? How likely do you think that will work?
Yeah, well, it could be a structure a company where Lachlan Murdoch's shareholding doesn't breach the existing rules, where Bruce Gordon would sort of have most of the ownership. That would still seem to me to breach that 2 out of 3 rule, though. So.
Slightly before my time, I think, in Australia, but a Canadian getting thrown into the mix with that as well, because there is precedent for this when it comes to Network 10.
Yeah, I think it was Can West did it. Yeah, absolutely. And they managed to make it work for a while. And I think, look, everybody wants a third commercial air network. The government wants it. The audience wants it. I think the sector wants it. Even 7 and 9, I think they would like to have a third, viable business, because they, just to keep the sector up there, to keep advertisers confident in the space. So I think everybody will work towards that outcome.
So in the background of all these conversations, of course, is media law reform. It continues to be stalled in the Senate. Nick Xenophon, though, do you think it's likely that his plan will work, that he can get some senators on board in favour of change, and that this will actually happen?
Well, the plan's a bit vague, isn't it, at this stage? You talked about a tax on Google and Facebook. You can imagine that appealing to politicians, because that would play well with the electorate, I think, because they've been painted as the big bogeyman of the sector out here. Look, they're making all this revenue. A lot of it's shifted back to the US, and it, you know, doesn't benefit the taxpayer here. So if the money's earned here, it should be paid tax on. So that would play well. As far as I think there was some chat about tax deductions on people that take out subscriptions and buy regional publications. I don't think that's going to be incentive to people, but look, it can't hurt. Maybe they need to think about tax breaks for the publishers, perhaps too. That could help them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any update? Do you have any update on the ABC buying the project from the 10? I mean, this was an exclusive reveal by Pauline Hanson.
It's one exclusive that's going to remain exclusive of Pauline Hanson. I don't really know why I mean, look, it's a good little product for Network 10. I can't imagine why the ABC would want it, though. You know, it's just seemed that's a really something out of left field.
Okay. All right. James, let's get to some of the other news in the space. And we've had Julian Delaney being named as Managing Director of News Corp's digital division.
Yeah, look, I've been a big fan of Julian's. He's been on the show before. We might have him on again soon to hear a little bit about what he's up to in this role. But he stays. I mean, he's currently been looking after news.com.au. That's his main priority. It will remain the main priority, but he'll also take over running of all the digital properties at News, which of course is a really critical part of the business. So that includes the digital versions of all the mastheads, things like KidSpot. So yeah, he's a great executive. He's such a passionate person. The way he speaks about it, as the viewers would have seen when we had him on the show. So yeah, he's a great asset to the company.
Get him on. Look forward to that. Pacific Magazines is going to be outsourcing subs to PageMaster. So does this mean job losses?
Yeah, it does. Could be as many as 19 people affected, although that number could be dropped if Pacific can move some of those people within the company to fill some other vacancies as they come up. And some of those people might go to PageMasters too, to take on the work that's going to be outsourced. Pacific have been looking at this for a little while. I think it was no surprise that they would end up doing it. They just had to make sure all the sort of staff who weren't affected was on board and understood the changes. You know, magazine companies are under massive pressure these days, and they just really need to find a way to cut their costs. And this is one solution Pacific's come up with.
Seems to be a theme out there in media land, doesn't it? Let's go to radio, shall we? And commercial radio stars, is this news? Because they're being accused of broadcasting filth, quote, in a race to the bottom. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like we've heard this before, James.
Yeah. Look, there's nothing really new about this. It was a sort of a fun story, if you like. But if you pull anything out of context, you can find sort of stuff you could call salacious and look, how dare they? But look, basically the radio delivers what the audience want to hear, you know. If the audience weren't on board, they certainly wouldn't be putting it out there. They don't have any agenda that they think, yeah, we've got to publish this stuff. So yeah, no, it's there's nothing new here.
Okay. Kyle Sandilands. Well, maybe the public does want to know about this one. Revealed his salary ballpark. And this came about after a real big on-air grilling. How did it play out?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, Ben Fordham came out and he interviewed sort of Kyle on air, and you know, Kyle and Jackie O sort of renewed their salary deal with ARN, and a lot of the chat's been about Kyle and how much he earns, but as ARN revealed earlier this year, Jackie O's pretty much on the same money, so that sort of gets overlooked in a little bit, and they're probably the two highest paid people in the media in any form in Australia at the moment, maybe with the exception of maybe someone like Alan Jones, but I think it's hard to measure because he's had some equity in the business in the past, but yeah, they're certainly, if not the highest paid performers in Australia, they're up there, and Kyle talked about it's more than $3 million. I think it's considerably more than $3 million a year, but they're pretty much both on the similar deal.
So I guess you can't say the same for Rove and Sam. In fact, their paychecks will stop coming. At least in the case of Sam, their hit show has been canned. Rove will be staying on, though, in some way, shape, or form. So, you know, I guess just not living up to expectations, bottom line.
Yeah, no, we talked a lot about Rove and Sam last year. They were sort of, Today FM hoped they'd get away their breakfast show, which has been sort of in real strife since Kyle and Jackie O left just over 3 years ago now. So they needed to find, they thought Rove would be the answer. No, it didn't really happen. He had a year in breakfast, and then they had to move them out. Rove came on a massive contract. He had some shares, some equity in the business. He's getting paid a real lot of money, so he's going to stay on. Hopefully they'll have some more projects for him, but Sam Frost is not on radio, but we'll see her again on TV in a few weeks' time.
What, Bachelorette? How many Bachelorettes
She's going to be on a cooking show, yeah.
Okay.
So, Australian Hell's Kitchen, I think. will be starting up in a few weeks. She'll be one of the contestants on that.
All right, we'll look out for that. Now that we are talking about TV, James, why don't we take a bit of a pause and look at some of the ratings? And this is for week 26, free to air. And 9 News Sunday is topping the list, as is 7 News on Sunday. And then we get, I guess, one of those sort of reality shows creeping in with House Rules.
Yeah, and a true story with Hamish and Andy over the page there is doing very well. That House Rules wraps this week. Hamish and Andy's only got 1 episode left. It was, I think it was a short 5 or 6 episode season. They're going to have another 5 or 6 episodes. Hopefully they'll be ready later in the year because it's performed very well for 9.
And has 4 corners on the ABC rating on there as well.
Yeah, that was massive last week. One of the biggest 4 corners ever, that one.
Which one was that? Oh, forgive me.
Huh?
Did I just put you in the spot? I can't.
It was one of the investigation into retirement.
That's right. Avio and all of that.
That's with Fairfax. So they do some of those things. Del Ferguson was the reporter. She's a great asset, both for Fairfax and Four Corners.
Okay, well, should we turn the page, shall we? And see if I can put you on the spot again with subscription TV ratings. Look, no big surprise. We've got AFL
and NRL, isn't it? Those we're in the sort of midst, or getting to the pointy end of the season, nearly at the end of next month before we get into the finals.
And then non-sport, and I was sort of noting that a lot lot of these are sports-related programs. Is this a symptom of, you know, state of origin and everything?
Well spotted there, Nadine, because there wasn't a lot of action near the top of the chart in non-sports programs. So I've had to go for sort of sports programs, but it wasn't live sport. So that's my sort of justification for slipping those ones in.
And The Simpsons, it will never die, will it?
No,
I saw something on
school holidays that always crops back up in the chart.
So shall we talk about some of the news that's out in TV land as well? And one of which is interesting to me is that we've got Andrew Denton coming back in full form. So what are the details of that? I mean, who will he be working with? What is this on?
Yeah, look, he's talking about a return to commercial TV. John Casimir is one of his former executive producers on Enough Rope. He became an executive at the ABC after that, but he's left the ABC now, and they're planning some stuff. We don't know much about it, but should have something up for next year, I'm guessing.
And again, we've got a couple other series launching, Common Sense, as well as The Handmaid's Tale with SBS. But this one's kind of strange because you're actually not watching it on the channel when it comes to The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, look, SBS On Demand is the place you can go to that. It's SBS are really pushing this on-demand platform, which is a pretty fantastic resource, especially considering it's free. You don't have to pay for it. There's a massive movie offering there. There's lots of TV drama, massive amount of docos, and this Handmaid's Tale they're talking about is one of the shows of the year, and all episodes are up there now for you to watch.
By one of my favourite authors. The book is Margaret Atwood. So, James, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Great to have you back. We'll see you next week.
Good to be here.
From all the team here, thanks for your company.